Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale up to 50% off the limited edition smart bed. Plus free premium delivery with any smart bed and adjustable base. Ends Labor Day. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz at Baton Rouge Studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Means we're brought to you by Sagrera Farms, premium Angus beef. Got Jacob Beck, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Lots and lots to get to over the next 2 hours. 3 matchups to watch, LSU and Clemson. I'll give them to you coming up in 15 minutes. Going to get some audio a little bit later from Cade Klubnik up there in Clemson. Luke Johnson going to be with us at 2 o'clock talking all things Saints. They're on the practice field again today. And then Chris Blair at 2:15 getting you ready for the coach's show and his trip to Clemson for LSU and the Clemson Tigers. We do have a little bit of breaking news is a reasonable thing to call it. So let's get into it with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Okay, so the news of the last hour is the question surrounding A.J. Haulcy and his ejection in Clemson in Houston's season finale last year. I have spent the last 25 minutes diving into this as quickly as I possibly can, learning as much as I possibly can, and I will tell you now what I know. What I can tell you for certain is that A.J. Haulcy was ejected in Clemson again, in Houston's season finale last year. They played BYU. There were just under 3 minutes to go in the game. The quarterback for BYU ran a touchdown in, and after that run, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see some of this on the ESPN cut. He runs in from the 7-yard line, and the camera is showing the BYU quarterback celebrating, and a bit of a scuffle breaks out in the back of the end zone. By the time the camera cuts to A.J. Haulcy and some of the other players involved in that extracurricular, Haulcy is being held back, so he's clearly been in the middle of this in some way, helmet on, and flags have been thrown. He was ejected from this game with 2 minutes and 52 seconds to go with BYU. Now, the box score that I pulled up officially from the Houston site, I went to the game book, which is given to all of us in the press box, and then it's uploaded up into onto the schedule page for every team and every game they play. The box score says the foul is for unsportsmanlike conduct. It does not say in the box score that I am reading fighting. Those are two distinctly different things. Let me read you from the NCAA 2025 rulebook. This is for unsportsmanlike conduct. It is Section 2, Article 1, and you got to go down to J. It says dead ball contact fouls such as pushing, shoving, striking, etc. that occur clearly after the ball is dead and are not part of the game action. And it does say earlier in this that you can be ejected if the official suggests that it is meriting of an ejection. Nowhere in unsportsmanlike conduct is a suspension mentioned in the rule book that I have seen. So you can be ejected for unsportsmanlike conduct. It appears from the rule book that I'm reading that does not carry a suspension. Now, fighting, this is very clear. Section 5, and then you go down to Article 1, and then you go to B. It says, during the second half, players shall not participate in a fight, obviously. It says the penalty for that is 15 yards for dead ball fouls, 15 yards from the succeeding spot, automatic first down for Team B, if not in conflict with other rules, ejection for the remainder of the game and the first half of the next game. For fighting in the last game of a season, those with remaining eligibility shall serve suspensions during the first game of the next season for which they are eligible. That's part of the penalty clause in fighting. In unsportsmanlike conduct, in the penalty clause, it says ejection. It has no clause for suspension. So that distinction, to me, very clearly spells what this is or what this isn't. As I read this off the internet, now I was not there in Provo for this game, and I don't know if there could be an error here. They're going to have to go back and look at this. But if A.J. Haulcy was ejected for unsportsmanlike conduct, which it says in the box score, he is eligible in the first half on Saturday. If A.J. Haulcy was ejected for fighting, despite the fact that it was last season and it was for another team, very clearly in the rule book, he is suspended for the first half on Saturday. Now, if you're asking me what I think the result of this is going to be, I believe, based on the box score, he's going to be able to play. But I will tell you this. This is news to people in the Southeast. LSU, the Southeastern Conference, this was brought to their attention recently. So there's discussions being had. Brian Kelly meets with the media after practice today. He's got his press conference on Thursday evening, and he'll have his coach's show. He will talk about this today, I am confident. I cannot give you an official ruling from the NCAA. All I can do is read the information that is given to me, the rule book and the box score from last year. I've seen the play. It's not egregious and from what I've seen, but I can't see what actually happened to trigger the event. The only tape that I have, and trust me, all I've gotten from this is, I've looked at this for the last 25 minutes. It's all I've seen. By the time I can see, cooler heads have prevailed. They've held A.J. Haulcy back. The BYU guys have been restrained. No benches cleared. No helmets were off. There are no injuries. There were just ejections, and A.J. Haulcy was one of them. So that's what I can tell you from this point. I'm confident those that are in Clemson Orange are looking at this saying he clearly got into a fight. He was fighting. He should be suspended. If you're in purple and gold, I'm quite confident you will say he didn't even do anything. He was playing for another team. This is unsportsmanlike conduct. Of course he can play. I'm just going to tell you what I know. I'm not going to tell you what I feel or what I think. I'll tell you what I know. The box score says unsportsmanlike conduct, and the rule book says unsportsmanlike conduct does not carry a suspension. That's what I know. Now, let's briefly talk about the impact this would have if he was suspended. If he's not suspended, he's a starting safety. He's a really good player. He's going to be out there playing. There's not really a conversation to be had. If he is suspended, this is the conversation we do have to have. Tamarcus Cooley, which, by the way, I'm told there's a situation with Cooley as well. I'm not abreast of that right now, and I'm on the air, so I can't go up and look it up. So if I find something out in a commercial break or something on Cooley, I'll talk about that. There may be a situation there. I can't speak to that right now, and I apologize. It's all too fresh. But I can tell you that if Cooley's in, he's a starter. And if you have to have Haulcy sit out, you've got basically three options. You've got Deshaun Spears, you've got Javian Toviano, and you've got Jarvin Gilbert. Gilbert was a starting safety for you last year, obviously. Didn't participate in the spring with a shoulder injury. He has, after starting with the safeties in camp, has moved down to the star position where he's backing up Harold Perkins. So he hasn't played safety now the last 3 weeks. He's played it his whole college career. So he can go back there and do it. But he hasn't done it the last 3 weeks. And I'm telling you that last week, if they were preparing for Clemson, you did not see Jarvin Gilbert playing safety. He would have been backing up at star because this is new information to LSU. Deshaun Spears and Javian Toviano have been back there playing safety. Here's what I think. I think that A.J. Haulcy is LSU's best safety by a long shot. I think he is clearly the best safety on this roster. That has a little bit to do with fall camp, like a smidge, but mainly has to do with the fact that he's been a terror for 3 years. He was first team All Big 12 unanimously. Coaches, AP, Phil Steele, everybody that was giving out first team All Big 12, he got it last year. The year before that, he was the Big 12 newcomer of the year at safety. The year before that, he was unbelievable as a freshman playing safety for New Mexico, made 24 tackles in a game. I'm basing off the 3 years he's played that are significantly better than anybody else on this roster has played. And now I realize he hasn't been doing it in the SEC, but he is big, he is physical, he is fast, he makes a ton of tackles, he makes plays on the ball, was, I think, second in the Big 12 in interceptions last year. Like, he is the best safety by a country mile. If he can't play for the first half, you are compromised at safety. You are not as compromised as you would be this past year or years prior. You have depth. Deshaun Spears is a second-year player. Javian Toviano is a third-year player. Jordan Gilbert is a fourth-year player who has been a 3-year starter in the SEC. So you have some guys that have played. I just think you would take a step back. Do I think this is a big deal if he is suspended? If he's not, of course it's not. We just get on with our lives, you play the game. Do I think it's a big deal? I do. I think not having one of your best defensive players on the field at a position where you were awful last year is a big deal. You've got a veteran quarterback, stud wide receivers, a lot of ground to cover, a mobile quarterback. Like, this is a game that you need to have A.J. Haulcy in at full speed. I think he probably leads LSU in tackles on Saturday if he plays the full game. Like, that's the kind of impact I think A.J. Haulcy will have on this team this year. I just don't know what the first half holds. And at this point, right here, as I sit here at 1:10 on Thursday, less than 24 hours before they get on a plane, I don't think LSU's 100% sure what's going to happen. But again, you're healthy, you're deep, and you have been rotating safeties for a month. Now, that rotation at the starting spot has stopped the last 2 weeks. It's been Cooley and Haulcy for 2 weeks. But the other guys have gotten a lot of reps. So they do have a little bit of time. This wasn't sprung on them on Saturday morning, but it is, 48 hours to 52 hours or so before kickoff, and you have this pop up. This was brought to the attention of the NCAA outside of the SEC and LSU, and we'll see what comes of it. I wish I could give you black and white facts of the outcome here. All I can give you are the nuts and bolts of this from the rule book and what I see in the box score. Right now, I feel like A.J. Haulcy is going to be able to play in the first half based on what I'm reading. But I can see if they go back and check and they do determine it was actually fighting, then he's going to have to miss the first half. That's cut and dried. It's right in the rule book. So I think he's going to be okay. It is going to be something to monitor. It will be a story. And to me, this is something that can be absolutely 100% ironed out in the course of 2.5 hours. If somebody's at the gym or taking a nap that was involved in the game in Provo and can't answer their phone in the first hour, okay. But you ought to be able to get the official, the conferences, everybody on the horn in the course of 2 hours and determine what he was ejected for. And once you figure that out, and I don't need you to go figure out what he should be ejected for. I need to know what he was ejected for that very moment. And once you get to the root of that, whether that's the official, whether that's the Big 12, whoever has that information needs to bring it forth, and that's the end of it. There shouldn't be an appeal. The rule is clear. This was either a fighting ejection or an unsportsmanlike conduct ejection. I don't need to know whether or not it was warranted. I just need to know what happened. And once you have that, this shouldn't drag on. So I can't, to me, if this came to everyone's attention at somewhere just beyond noon on Thursday, by the time Brian Kelly meets with the media this evening, this should be ironed out. I don't see where there should be a lot of gray area here. But I can't give you the result. So it's certainly worth monitoring, and we'll let you know if we hear anything over the course of the next 2 hours. Maybe Matt has something because he doesn't finish for another 5. We'll see. But we'll keep you posted as best we can tell. I'm going to dive into the Tamarcus Cooley stuff over the course of the show and see if I can figure something out on that front. But the Haulcy thing is first and foremost here. So we got that information to you. We'll have a story up at LouisianaSports.net here very, very shortly. All right, that's that. That's the Genesis opening drive. Let's go ahead and step aside. When we come back, let's talk about some things that don't involve ejections. Let's talk some matchups. LSU and Clemson. What am I going to be looking for coming up on Saturday night? We'll do it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club. I love telling you about Swing Easy Golf Club because I like going to Swing Easy Golf Club. It's right there on Segan near Perkins. If you're a golfer, no matter if you're recreational or progressing into the high school ranks, no matter if you think you're a scratch player or you're just a beginner, Swing Easy Golf is for you. You can go in and work on your game. You can get on the driving range setting. You can see your swing, your club face at impact. You can see your carry distance. You can see where the ball slices, where it hooks, where it goes straight if you got it dialed in that day. Or it's a great place to just have some fun and cut loose. You can have a couple of beers in there, have a glass of wine in there, bring some friends in there, watch football, got gorgeous TVs and seating, all in some private bays that you can play some famous courses from around the world on the simulator. It's a ton of fun. A bunch of us from Guarantee went over there last week and hit some balls around. Played pretty famous course over there in Georgia, but you can play Bethpage Black in advance of the Ryder Cup if you want to. Awesome stuff over there at Swing Easy Golf Club, as I mentioned, on Segan, right there at Perkins. Check out online. You can get tee times available, book them there, or look into some membership options at swingeasygcbr.com. That's Swing Easy Golf Club here in Baton Rouge, swingeasygcbr.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Thursday show is always brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. I love telling you about Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef because it's awesome. We've had it in the Palmer house, the ground beef, phenomenal for burgers. I cooked a big old ribeye about 3 weeks ago. It was just an A+. It's some of the finest beef in the country, and it's right here, just outside of Baton Rouge. You can visit the farm, and Sean Sagrera wants you to visit the farm. He wants you to go check it out. He wants you to see what you're buying. You can pick out the beef that you buy, and I can promise you it's going to be prime. We've gone through these scores before. You're talking about select beef, 0 to 3 on that intermuscular fat score. You're talking about choice, that's 3 to 8. If you're talking about prime, that's 9+ on the IMF score. Sean's beef, he knows. This is not a guess. They've had ultrasounds done on the cattle that's out there on the farm right now. It's 12, 15, 17, 19, up to 20 on the IMF score. This is some of the finest marbled beef you will find. So if you're looking to get some steaks on the grill for game day, if you're looking to have a freezer full of that delicious prime Angus beef that you don't have to question where it came from or how many DNA are in your packet, or you don't have to worry about steroids being used or improper antibiotics. Nope. Just right here in Baton Rouge, some of the finest beef around. Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. I give you Sean's number every single week. That's who you call. It's pretty simple. You call the guy who owns the farm. You go visit the farm. You pick out your beef. It's Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. You can call Sean. Pretty easy number to figure out here. He's in the 225 right here in Ethel's where the farm is. You can go check him out. 225-719-1723. Again, 225-719-1723. Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. All right, let's talk some football on the field here. I wrote a story for LouisianaSports.net today that talks about the 3 matchups I'm curious to watch here with LSU and Clemson. And to me, it starts in the most obvious place. And so I'm not going to belabor this point, but I am going to bring it up to you. It's Clemson's defensive line against LSU's offensive line. And you know this by now. So again, I'm going to get to the 2 other ones and spend some more time on it. But Peter Woods is big and disruptive. His statistics aren't crazy, but there's a reason the scouts like him so much. He's 315 pounds, and he's really quick, and he can cause some problems on the interior. TJ Parker is a game wrecker on the edge. Against Pitt last year, they just simply couldn't block him, and he took over the game. He had 5 TFLs and 4 sacks in that game. That's a guy on the edge. I'm curious to see how Tyree Adams and Weston Davis deal with him. You got some help from Braylon Moore on the inside with Peter Woods, but you also have to worry about Will Helt, who's the rush in from Purdue that's transferred in, that had a 5-sack season for Purdue last year, that is 6'6" and rangy, and with a lot of eyes on Woods and Parker, maybe Helt gets rolling a little bit. To me, this is the biggest matchup in the game, so I can't just bypass it. I feel like if LSU holds its own here, that LSU will be just fine. You just can't let them annihilate you in the middle so that Nussmeier can't step up. You can't let him make a strip sack that creates a 12-yard field for the Clemson offense. You can't get beat in game-changing fashion by these guys. They get a sack here or there, you'll live. First down sack of 8 yards. Yeah, it's bad. You're in 2nd and 18. But it's not, that's a one-time thing. What can't happen is just a consistent push in the middle of that offensive line where Nussmeier can't step up, he can't operate, and you can't win on the outside where I think your advantage is. That's, to me, the biggest matchup on the field. There is NFL talent all over the place on both offenses and both defenses. I still think there's no more crucial matchup than LSU holding its own on the offensive line against this Clemson defensive line. But you already know that, and we've talked about it. So let's get to the others that I wrote about. This one is interesting. It's Clemson's wide receivers against LSU's defensive backs. Antonio Williams is lightning quick. He had 904 yards last year. He's always open. He's a handful. Then you got the 2 guys that were freshmen last year that had great freshman campaigns. TJ Moore, big physical body, 6'3", goes up, makes contested catches. He's their big body guy. And then you've got a deep threat in Bryant Wesco, who averaged 17.5 yards a catch last year to lead the team. He makes a lot of big plays down the field. They got 3 dudes that are really good. I think the matchup between those 3 guys and LSU's DBs is massive. You heard me talk on Tuesday of this week about LSU and their inability to cover in these openers. Miller Moss and Jordan Travis, 75% completion, about 360 yards per game. That's just getting annihilated. And I saw the harbinger for that in fall camp both years. I have not seen the harbinger for that this year. I have seen LSU's defensive backs make consistent plays on the ball against a really good receiving core in practice. I know that Aaron Anderson's good. I know that Chris Hilton is good. I know that Varian Brown is good. I know that Kyle Parker can make some plays. I know Nick Anderson's been a star. And LSU has covered those guys at times in practice. They didn't cover anybody the last 2 years. So Ashton Stamps, Mansour Delane, PJ Woodland, DJ Pickett, these guys have put up a fight against LSU receivers in camp. They've got to put up a fight against Clemson guys. I think that LSU will hold its own at the point of attack with that defensive front. I think they'll win some defensive front. Clemson's offensive line is very veteran and very good, but LSU's going to hold its own at the front. If the matchup in the back end tilts LSU's way, then you start to see a window where LSU can dominate the game defensively. It's a big if. Klubnik's really good, and those 3 receivers I just told you about are really, really good. And shutting them down is not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. But can you make things tough on them? Can you make a couple of big plays on the ball? Can you be sticky on 3rd down and force a punt? Can you get your hands on an interception to create a short field and change the game? Didn't happen the last 2 openers. Couldn't do it against Jordan Travis and Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson and those guys. Couldn't do it against Miller Moss and Zachariah Branch and Mekhi Lemon last year. Couldn't do it. If you can do it this year against TJ Moore and against Bryant Wesco and against Antonio Williams, well, could change the outcome. I think it is huge how well LSU handles itself in the secondary in this game. Massive, massive matchup to watch. And the third one, I talked about a little bit last week. Did a segment last week about LSU's special teams specifically. And I talked about having Davian Ramos back. 7th most accurate kicker in LSU history. 4th year handling kicks. Been here Brian Kelly's entire time. Had a better year last year from distance than he had previously. Made one over 50 yards. You went and addressed your punter situation, which was terrible last year. But you went to Middle Tennessee and you got Grant Chadwick. And he looks good in camp. I think he'll be just fine. And then you go to your returners, which are elite. Varian Brown, elite. Xavion Thomas, elite. I think that gives you a really, really stout special teams unit. How about the other side? Well, Clemson had some problems last year. And by problems, I mean big problems. Listen to this number. It's mind-blowing. Clemson had 6 field goals blocked last year. 6. Now, I would suggest, with basically no knowledge on how to handle a field goal block, that you could fix that in an offseason. You could fix a massive problem with getting field goals blocked in an offseason. But I was doing a spot in South Carolina with a local radio station up there, and I asked them, how do you get 6 field goals blocked? I said, well, they had a huge problem on the offensive right side. They could not block anybody. And teams started attacking it, and they just couldn't fix it. I would tend to agree that you could probably fix it in offseason, but we'll see. It still is a big issue. And oh, by the way, Dabo Swinney was asked about the punters earlier this week, and he said, well, some days they're really good, sometimes they're not. And he did go on to add that they may have to just see how pregame warmups go to decide between 3 different punters. So while Clemson does have a really talented field goal kicker who was set the high school record for field goals made, that's a big record to set, and then did a really good job last year when his balls got airborne. When it got blocked, not so great. But when he didn't have 6 of them blocked, he was really good. And he made a 56-yarder to win the ACC championship game. So that is an encouraging sign for Clemson. But having 6 blocked is a big red flag. LSU, to me on paper, looks like the better special teams unit. Clemson's got issues. They got issues at punter, and they've got issues keeping field goals blocked up. So I look at this and I go, that is an area of this game that we haven't spent any time really thinking about, but I think it's a big deal. So to me, number one, first and foremost, huge. LSU's offensive line holding its own against the talent of Clemson's defensive line. And hey, it's fair if you're an LSU fan and you want to sit there and you go, I'm tired of hearing about Clemson's defensive line. This is a group that allowed the Citadel to run for 288 and Texas to run for 292 and Louisville to run all over them inside Clemson Stadium and North Sellers to run all over the place. Like, yeah, all that's true. They did. Same guys. Peter Woods was out there. Parker was out there. Woodaz was out there. Like, same guys. And those teams had their way with them. But I don't necessarily trust that LSU is equipped to go out there and just run it down Clemson's throat. That will surprise me if it happens. But most importantly, don't let them wreck the game. That's number one. Number two, if LSU can cover, it could be tough sledding for Clemson's offense. Big if. Big if. These are the ifs that I think determine the game. So it makes sense that they're big ifs. And then you got special teams. You're on the road. You're an underdog. A lot of talent on both sides. Veteran quarterbacks on both sides. Is it a field position deal? Do you get a situation where it's 4th down from the 11 and Clemson shanks a punt and you get it at the 20 because they just cold shanked it out of bounds? Like, that's a big play in the game. Is it a blocked field goal? Is it a game-changing return? We already know that Clemson's not going to get a chance to return kickoffs because Aaron Burrell is going to kick it in the 3rd row. Big special teams advantage. Do you get a big punt return? Does one of their punters doesn't shank it, but he kicks a low one? There's Xavion Thomas. Does he make a play? I think these are big-time potential factors in this game. And I went a little bit more in-depth with them on LouisianaSports.net. If you'd like to read it, you can for free on the LSU page. So let's move forward. We've got still tons to do over the next 90 minutes here. It's a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Vaughn and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, closet space may not feel important all the time, but until you realize that it's not great, you don't know. And my wife moved in, she's girlfriend at the time, and she looks around and goes, this is it? I said, yeah, this is the closet situation. Well, this isn't going to work. And we had to put some stuff in the hallway, had to throw some coats in the attic, had stuff in the baby's room at the time. Like, it was a bad situation. So when we moved, we prioritized closet space. You may be locked into a great interest rate. You don't want to move. Got a great neighborhood, great spot for you, but the closet space is an issue. David and his team can customize a closet to your specifications, no matter what you got. If you want the wife to fill out a questionnaire that says how many pair of shoes she's got so they know how big to build the shelves, they can do that. Customize exactly to what you need. It'll look great. It'll function well. It'll make life easier on you. It's One Bath and Closets. Find the website, onebathandclosets.com. Get that free consultation today. Onebathandclosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Today's show is brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. got to make my Missouri pick coming up in the next segment. Got to have my SEC picks all season long. Missouri plays tonight. I'll give you Missouri pick before the end of the hour. Luke Johnson straight up 2 o'clock from Saints Camp. Chris Blair 2:15. So lots to do over the course of the next half hour. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We're working towards the weekend. It feels like we're getting really close to a little bit of football here. It's a big football weekend starting tonight. I don't know if Boise State, South Florida is really going to get me going tonight. I got to go watch the Shark Dogs practice anyway on the soccer pitch, so check that out. But and then tonight, Cincinnati and Nebraska. I think that's right.
Correct.
It's just
my Ohio Bobcats are playing today at 5 o'clock.
Wow, you're a big Ohio fan. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I can tell that
taking on Rutgers.
Huge. The Scarlet Knights, tough team.
Yep.
Coach Shiano really got him coached up. I mean, look, I'm all in for Auburn Baylor tomorrow. Like, just absolutely dunk me in the pool. I'm excited about that. Cincinnati, Nebraska, I could take it or leave. It just doesn't move my needle. So we'll see. Might be a night that I don't watch a lot of football, and then start it up tomorrow, and certainly Saturday all in. And then I can't wait to watch football on Sunday with the Monday holiday. We like that. So we'll get you a Missouri pick coming up here. Cade Klubnik, Missouri. Clemson starting quarterback, met with the media earlier this week. I believe it was yesterday. And we got some sound here that I want to play. Y'all are all very much aware that LSU has gotten beat in 5 straight openers, right? You're all very much aware of that. Clemson has lost their last 2 openers as well. Got dusted by Georgia last year and got dusted by Duke the year before that. Cade Klubnik kind of talked about what's got to be different after you lost 2 straight.
We don't have to do too much. I think sometimes you go into a first game and you feel like you got to go do all this insane, crazy plays and go make all this wild stuff happen. But at the end of the day, you just got to do the routine plays and do them really well and be smart, be efficient, and just go rip it and just have fun.
I got asked on Shreveport radio. I do a Shreveport radio spot every Wednesday evening with 2 guys who despise LSU to their very core.
As of course, you are a Shreveport, one of the most famous people from Shreveport at this point.
No question. So basically, me, Sam Burns,
Jordan Davis. That's about it.
Yeah. No, Kix Brooks.
Yeah, well, isn't Jared Leto and his brother from Bossier? They're from Bossier, right?
It's different. Who Jared Leto is.
Oh, you don't know the actor? He's in a band.
Not
kind of famous.
Got nothing on that.
All right, all right, go ahead.
So I'm clearly more famous than him.
Yes.
Dozens of people watch me on YouTube every day. So basically, eat your heart out. So as far as the Shreveport talk show, they said, is LSU making too big a deal about this? And I was like, I don't think so. What are they going to? They're not going to play well because they had stuff in their locker room. They're not going to be able to respond against Louisiana Tech. I think the teams are going to be fired up and ready to play. And I don't think anybody's going to try any harder because they did or didn't have stuff in the weight room. To me, that's just kind of outside stuff that doesn't really matter all that much. And Klubnik kind of feels the same way. What does he see from LSU's defense? Here's what Cade Klubnik had to say.
They're explosive. They've got a great veteran core, especially in the linebacker room, with Weeks and Perkins and, Weeks again. So, they got guys that have played a lot of ball, and they're smart, they're physical, they're relentless. They're hauling ass, to go get the ball every single play, and, they love the game. I mean, they're smart, and you can see it in the way that they play. They're very well coached, not making a lot of middle errors. They're in the right spot and in the right places at all times. So it'll definitely be a fun challenge for us.
Cade Klubnik could be a coach. I mean, that was an absolute nothing burger.
Yeah, he's like Nuss.
It is. I mean, it's just, they're run to the ball, aggressive, well coached, don't make a lot of mistakes, just ripping off cliche after cliche there on LSU's defense. So if he's going to throw flowers to the defense, might as well throw flowers at Garrett Nussmeier. Let's see what Cade Klubnik had to say about his counterpart on Saturday.
Playing behind Jaden, wait until his really 4th year to start. Got a ton of respect for that. And, he's a heck of a player. And, I love, watching him last year, just his anticipation on throws, the way he leads his guys, when we were at Manning, the LSU receivers come over and being able to watch them and the way he leads them and his relationship with them was really cool to see. And you can just tell that, his teammates really love him. And, but he's a heck of a player and, I love watching him play. Yeah.
Was a little bit better. Gave me some context there. LSU receivers really like him. He thought there's some good anticipation throws.
Still got heck of a player in there. That's a classic.
That's a Nuss line there as well. But look, I think those 2 guys are going to be on center stage on Saturday, and those 2 guys are going to be high NFL draft picks They're really good players. And I think that either team probably feels okay down 4 or 5 points with 3 minutes to go, because you feel like you got a guy who's kind of been through it and can go out there and find a way to make plays late. Nussmeier certainly did it against Ole Miss last year. Klubnik helped him get into field goal range to win the ACC last year. I think these guys are going to be really good players. And one of the things he mentioned, Klubnik did about Nussmeier, is playing behind Jaden, sticking it out, and he has a lot of respect for that. And Klubnik got on the field a lot as a freshman. DJU was the quarterback, but he played in 10 games, started the last game of the season, played really well in that game, was the AC Championship game MVP, and decided that after some bumpy times, he was going to stay. If you heard our interview with the Clemson radio host yesterday, he was talking about, there was a serious conversation about whether Cade Klubnik wanted to be here further after the bumpy start to his career. It just wasn't the high-flying 5-star takeoff tour that Trevor Lawrence was on. So Klubnik talked about his decision to stick with Clemson.
I mean, this is just, in my mind, the best place to get better. So I was in a scenario where I was playing early, and I knew that I needed to get better, and this was the place to do it. We had great people around me, an incredible coaching staff, a coaching staff that have put together great quarterbacks before me, great offenses around me. So this is a place I knew I needed to get better, and it's really simple as that.
I think that's pretty reasonable. You got a good offensive coordinator in Garrett Riley. You've got an amazing supporting cast that's got really veteran offensive linemen and 3 great receivers. Running back, they'll see what they've got, but I think he's right on with that. And so this last cut talks about the challenge of treating it just like any other game. I'll let Cade Klubnik talk about it, and then I have 2 different sides to this coin that I want to get to. So this is Cade Klubnik on not making this game too big.
I feel like we faced it last year too. I feel like we're kind of used to that. It's another game, and it's a huge game, but so is week 3, and because when it really comes down to it, it's going to be a number on your record. It's going to just be another tally. So we got to go take care of business this week. Coach Sweeney's going to say it every single week, but we're playing Clemson. So we got to, take care of business and do what we do, take care of the ball, get takeaways, be efficient, make the routine plays routinely. I think we have a really good plan going into it.
And look, there's a lot of truth to that. I have 2 thoughts on it. One, I have talked to multiple players from the 2011 team, Brandon Taylor being one of them, that talked about the camp that they had with Eyes on Oregon and how they trained harder. They just felt like it got them into gear with a total focus and goal on being ready to play in that first game. And we'll never know whether or not doing that and then losing is more detrimental than it would be if you just went out there and treated it, quote unquote, like another game and lost, because they won. But we know that they trained and they were getting ready for that tempo that Oregon ran, which at that time was trailblazing, and it got them into shape. It got them ready to go, and they went out and played a great game and dominated Oregon. And I can hear that side of the coin for this team. Hey, they've been focused. They've taken things a little bit more seriously. They've done some things differently as far as the last 3 weeks with practice schedules, practicing at night so they can get ready for a 7:30 first kickoff. And that all sounds great. And if you want to play devil's advocate, like the guys on Shreveport Radio last night who want to say, hey, these guys are putting too much emphasis on it. They're going to try too hard. They're going to play tight. And then once they lose, they won't be able to recover from that because they felt like their whole season was aimed at one thing and that's over and the goal's gone. You can look at it either way. I don't know that either is right or wrong at this point because we hadn't seen the result. I can tell you what my gut feeling is on it. My gut feeling is they put a lot of work and preparation into getting ready for this game. They're going to be ready to play, focused. They're going to come out and play extremely hard. They're playing a really good team on the road. If they win, it will be an absolute boon for not only this team, but the program as a whole to finally get that monkey off their back with the season opening win and to get into a game where they'll beat Louisiana Tech by 40 next week and then get into conference play with an unbeaten record, and they'll really feel like they've got a chance to do something special this year. If they lose, I don't think they'll just throw up their hands and quit against Louisiana Tech. I think they'll go out there and beat them by 40, and then they'll go play Florida. That's my take on it. So I just don't buy the notion that you're going to make this game, quote unquote, too big. You can say that about the Alabama game 15 years ago. I don't really buy that one either. But it's an inexact thing that you're trying to measure. I think this is fine both directions. Clemson has downplayed everything, talked about it playing Clemson, being the next week, next game. Like, that's all fine. And LSU said, hey, we want to go 1-0 this year. That's fine too. I don't think it's going to make a material difference on the scoreboard come Saturday. That's just my take on the situation. Certainly Cade Klubnik toeing the company line, as his coach would have him do. So that's some sound from Clemson's starting quarterback. All right, we'll come back and close out hour number 1. It's a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Go by and see them. Airline at Pico. I tell you this every week. You're talking about a first-class facility. From the ambiance, to the smells, to the sounds, to the people that greet you. It feels like you're in a spa, not a car dealership. It's quiet. It's comfortable. They're welcoming. They're going to treat you like a guest, not a customer. If you've been on a car lot, felt like you were getting pressured, felt like you were being taken advantage of, felt like you were being upsold, never going to happen at Genesis. They're just there to help. Most of you haven't been behind the wheel of a Genesis. It's a luxury brand. Go by and see them. When you say luxury, don't think, I can't afford that. You won't know until you go check it out. It's Airline at Pico. You can find the entire inventory at GenesisOfBatonRouge.com. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you in, and get behind the wheel of a GV80 while you're at it. It's a great, great SUV. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Find them online. GenesisOfBatonRouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here. Thursday show is brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Every year I run a season-long SEC pick'em against the number. The last 2 years I have been shockingly close to 500. I believe 1 game over 2 years ago and 2 games under last year.
That's correct.
So you're talking about a 2-year run where I'm 1 game under 500. You can take that for what it's worth. Some would say that's a pretty good record. Some would say you got to pick it up a little bit.
Some would say that's shockingly average.
Yeah. It's a coin flip. They're 50-50, and I have managed to walk that line for the last 2 years. So we got to get started today because Missouri starts tonight with Central Arkansas. I've done expansive research on the Central Arkansas Bears. Last year, got off to a great start. They were 6-2, had just beaten North Alabama, and then they really hit the skids. Lost to Utah Tech, 34-21. Lost to Eastern Kentucky, 31-24. Lost to Southern Utah, 38-31. And then got smoked by Tarleton State. I had never heard of Tarleton State until my cousin's daughter decided to go there like a month ago. So that's not a great look to have that on the schedule. This is a matchup of an SEC team against a team that is in the FCS. So what do we think about a monster number in this case that's pushing 40 points? I guess for the sake of this discussion, we'll call the number as they do on ESPN currently at 39.5. It just feels like to me Missouri can name their score in a game against an FCS team that can't beat Tarleton State or Western Utah or whatever I just said that I forgot already. I realize that's a transfer portal era and last year's team doesn't mean a lot for this year's team, but Eli wears a bit of a chip on his shoulder consistently. I know I went with this in a pick that didn't matter last week with Dan Mullen, UNLV, and that didn't work. They almost lost. But I'll go ahead and take Missouri and lay the 39.5. Feels like they might score 60. That's kind of what happens when you got a middling team that's looking to prove a point that gets a overmatched team on its home field. I think Missouri's taken this opportunity to showcase its program. That's why they're playing on Thursday. It's got to be. They've done it a couple of years in a row. I don't think Missouri's going to be great this year. Their schedule is just incredibly forgiving for an SEC slate. So I'll go ahead and take Missouri. I think they win this one something like 52-7 or something. That covers the 39.5 rather comfortably. So I'll take it without a huge degree of confidence. How do we feel back there, Beck?
Yeah, last year, I'm just looking at last year, they played Murray State in their opening game, another FCS game. They won 51-0. So that seems like a pretty reasonable
Luther
outcome.
Burden, returning quarterback, maybe better. You got probably two quarterbacks that are going to play a significant amount tonight, so it's a different team, a less proven team than having Brady Cook back there.
But it is a different team, but FCS teams are usually the same. They're usually really bad compared to the SEC. So.
Not competitive. So 39.5 is fairly light. I'll take Missouri, and hopefully I'll get off to a great start. Tomorrow, we will have Auburn as the front of our picks, and then we'll get into the rest of the teams in the Southeastern Conference as the weekend progresses. Things wrap up for the SEC on Sunday at 2 o'clock when South Carolina and Virginia Tech play in the Aflac kickoff against Virginia Tech. So that's it for hour number one. We're brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. You're looking for ribeyes, you're looking for fillets, strip steaks, skirt steaks, flank steaks, chuck roast, ground beef, all of it from one cow, prime Angus beef, Sagrera Farms, right here outside of Baton Rouge. It's just a different way to buy your beef. They're doing things differently. If you generally just head around the corner, grab something, not sure where it was raised, how many DNA are in that package, whether or not steroids or antibiotics were used, do it differently. Go to Sagrera Farms, fill your freezer. Have it ready whenever you're ready to pull out that steak and get it on the grill as football season is upon us. Sagrera Farms, Premium Angus Beef, bring you our Thursday shows. If you missed any of our show today, top of the show, I talked about AJ Haulcy. If you're just getting in the car and missed this, there's been something raised on Twitter and it's now been brought to the SEC and LSU's attention that he was ejected from his last game at Houston with just under 3 minutes to go. Is he eligible for the first half against Clemson? I gave all my thoughts on it. Essentially, I think there's a good chance he is, but there's certainly a chance that he is not. I laid all that out at the top of the show. You can catch that. It's already on YouTube at Hunt on LSU if you want to check it out. We heard from Cade Klubnik. Give you matchups to watch as well. Lots going on in that first hour. Let's transition to the Saints after Sports Center. We'll hear from Luke Johnson, who is at practice today. Chris Blair in 20 minutes. It's a Thursday edition. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.